describing how the convergence of Bitcoin and AI was completely redefining labor, the distribution of labor, right?
비트코인과 AI 혁신 기술 융합이 미래의 노동의 분배를 완전히 재정해야 할 것이라고 주장하고 있는 인물은 아크인베스트먼트의 CEO 돈나무 언니 캐시우드입니다. 캐시우드는 현재 비트코인 현물 ETF를 절찬 판매 중이며 크립토 시장에 매우 영향력 있는 인물인 만큼 그녀가 생각하는 향후 비트코인 및 AI 혁신 기술의 융합과 크립토를 포함한 혁신 기술들의 미래 전망에 대한 디테일한 인사이트에 대해서 함께 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Every time I talk to you, you get amped up around Bitcoin and AI, and then we always then you go on this riff around convergence, and it's really like gotten me thinking about a number of different things as well. So even on the El Salvador side, how do you think about all of these disruptive technologies, especially with Bitcoin converging together from an investment point of view, from a life point of view? I'm just curious some of those thoughts.
It's very interesting. So we have centered the firm's research around disruptive innovation, so innovation platforms that meet three criteria, and I can get into them if you want, but the five are robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and multi-omics sequencing in the life science space. And each one of those is moving into its own S-curve, moving into prime time in terms of adoption. And I think the reason the world is going to feel chaotic, even to us in some sense, we've been disappointed by some earnings results because, in the AI world, things are happening that we wouldn't have expected. So it's moving very quickly. And I think there is, if you look at consumer sentiment metrics out there, you'll see the consumer is kind of down. The consumer is not feeling very. Now, I think a lot of it is where the price level is in the economy, but a lot of it also is if you look at surveys of people making $100,000 or more, their fear of losing their jobs is moving up dramatically here because of AI. And if unemployment follows with this line, it will end up somewhere in the 6 to 7% range in the next year or so. So that's something that's happening that's unsettling. This is much like the late 1800s, early 1900s, telephone, electricity, and internal combustion engine going to change the world completely. And society was very uncertain, unstable. There was a lot of angst back then, and I think there is so. Innovation, all of the innovation I'm talking about has huge ramifications for wealth creation and standards of living, right? Productivity gains. We think productivity is going to absolutely boom here, and we think real GDP growth could appreciate from where it's been in the last 125 years. Real GDP growth from 3% at a compound annual rate, with China bringing up the rear recently. We think that will go to 6 to 8% during the next 5 to 10 years. Most people think that's nuts. The other side of it, though, is this is highly deflationary. All of these technologies are deflationary. And that's why Bitcoin fits right into this new world as the payments ecosystem. So, but in terms of the convergence, so each one into its own S-curve, and these are massive growth opportunities, just massive opportunities. And so what do we have here? We have S-curves feeding S-curves because of this convergence. That's what you're feeling. And so it's going to create for these converged platforms super exponential growth. And when our chief futurist, Brett, put that into our Big Ideas 2024, I said, most people in our business, this is the equity business for the most part, do not even understand exponential growth. So exponential growth, if you're at a decent growth rate, means you'll sustain that growth rate instead of law of large numbers decaying the growth rate, right? Super exponential means you're not only going to sustain a growth rate, but it's going to accelerate because of these convergences. So that's what's exciting about this. And just to give you a few examples away from Bitcoin, AI, and we can get into that in a moment, AI is the biggest catalyst in all of this. It is going to catalyze more innovation and speed it up more than any other innovation out there. So a couple of ideas. First, autonomous taxi networks. So robotaxis, autonomous. Tesla, largest AI project on Earth. It is the convergence of robotics. Autonomous vehicles are robots. Energy storage, they will be electric. And sometimes that's controversial, but it all has to do with costs. Electric's going to be much cheaper than gas-powered. And I know I'm in Texas, too. So anyway, 3, artificial intelligence will be powered by AI. So that's going to move the needle, right? It's also going to there's also going to be, as a result of it, a lot of creative destruction. That gets to sort of this unease and so forth. Another one, just in terms of profound ramifications, is in the healthcare space. So multi-omic sequencing, so not just DNA, it's RNA, proteins, methylation, epigenetics is complicated. Anyway, the convergence of those two, so artificial intelligence and sequencing with CRISPR gene editing, is going to cure disease. And we've had the first approval of a drug, a therapy created this way, 2 of them actually, in US, UK, Europe, for beta thalassemia and sickle cell. They were absolutely incurable. You couldn't even treat the symptoms. Now these people, 1 edit to the genome, now that we know what these 6 billion bits of code are and what's normal and what's not normal, editing 1 abnormal gene cured these people. Cured. So that's how profound and exciting this world is going to be. It's going to transform healthcare. And then in terms of AI and Bitcoin, well, I think, our Bitcoin brainstorm on that convergence when roast beef, anybody know who roast beef is? Yeah, everybody knows who roast beef. So he was, I think, in Africa at that moment as we were doing brainstorm, describing how the convergence of Bitcoin and AI was completely redefining really labor, the distribution of labor, right?
Yeah, Paul Itoy, I think, as well as at Stackworks, he was explaining in Guatemala as well as El Salvador and a lot of these other countries as well, and especially these AI agents. What do they call them? Microtasking, or something along those lines. How many people in the audience, by the way, are parents? Real quick, or show of hands. Okay, good. Because, Kathy, I'm a father of 4, and I'm going to just ask a selfish question here.
Yes.
What should I be teaching my kids, or what should I be pointing the kids to be learning with all this disruption, this creative, not destruction, but also wealth opportunity? Yeah. What should they be learning? Well,
you should focus them on disruptive innovation. Get them on the right side of change. That's the most important thing you have to do as a parent from an education point of view. And I feel so strongly about this that we launched 3-4 years ago. We now call it ARC Education Initiative. ARC's research made age appropriate. We just got to St. Pete 2.5 years ago. Made age appropriate is the 6th grade science curriculum throughout Pinellas County, 70,000 students. So they're learning. Yeah. Yes, and we took to El Salvador with us 2 books, one on Bitcoin, one on AI, targeted at 6th graders for President Bukele. And he just jumped. He said, I will pay anything. I want to get into that program. That is how Florida had something to prove on education because it had one of the worst track records in the country. Now it's really coming up, and because it's willing to experiment and try. And we were outsiders, total outsiders, and we came in the public school. This is the public school system. 100, and we'll be throughout the middle school. So your daughter will get it throughout the middle school. Yeah. And we hope to go from toddler through high school, but getting young people inspired, especially, middle school is such an important age for young people. This is a big fork in the road for a lot of young people. It's like there are a lot of social things going on, of course, but you inspire them. And I'll just give you a quick story. During COVID, we went to a place called Jericho Partnership in Danbury, Connecticut, when I was still living in Connecticut. The president said, I am going to lose these young people. They're from very low socioeconomic homes, very difficult circumstances, and I'm going to lose them because they can't come in now. Will you do something? Will you help me? And so we did 2 6-part seminars. One was on drones, one was on 3D printing, and on the drone. So at the end of that 6-part seminar, I was able to say to these young people, you know what? You know more about drones than 98% of the people in the world. Now, did you enjoy Sam the Drone Man? So Sam Chorus is our analyst. Did he inspire you? Go follow him on, at that time, Twitter. Go follow him and go follow who he is following, because a lot of this, that when they start learning about something, and we see this with Bitcoin too, when they start learning about something, they become voracious. They actually want to become, the leaders of their class in the knowledge of any particular breakthrough science that others are not really talking about. It's becoming cool, so very exciting and such an important moment in history to be doing this.